Morena, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ōtorohanga District Council Extraordinary Meeting on the 31st of October. I'd like to welcome councillors and staff, and if we could have Councillor Tamaki to begin our meeting with no karakia, please.
Tēnā tātou katoa. Kei nui tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tunga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. I hiakana te atākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora.
Thank you, Councillor. We have one apologies from Councillor Willison. I'd like to move this apology be accepted. Seconded by Councillor Tamaki. All in favour? Okay, thank you. We have no late agenda items. Any councillors feel there's any items that need a declaration of conflict of interest? No, nothing. Moving on then to item 91, the adoption of our annual report. I'd like to welcome Brendan and Graham. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, so this report is to adopt the annual report for the 2022-23 financial year, or the year ending 30 June 2023. I'll take the report as read. I'll just highlight this did go to the Risk and Assurance Committee last Thursday, I think, and they recommended to Council that you adopt after their review. They also discussed it with the auditors, Deloitte, at the time of the meeting. Deloitte came into the meeting via Zoom, and they had a bit of a discussion about some of the items that identified. The other thing I'll just point out is since this agenda went out, there's been a couple of minor changes to the final annual report document. One of them is that one of our performance measures we had listed as not applicable, but on further review by Deloitte and us, it was actually achieved. So that's changed the percentages at the front slightly. So we're now 68% achieved as opposed to the 65 that it was in the report. And then obviously the not applicable has dropped from 4 point something to 2 point something percent. And then the other change is just around in the performance measures, there's a section for water supply around water quality and compliance against bacteria and protozoal standards in the old drinking water standards. That was getting quite confusing for the auditors to understand what we'd written. And so we've written a few times, and then last night there's additional rewriting just to make it even more make sense as to, we've said that we partially comply, and then we've now broken it down into the individual quarters and which bits complied and which didn't. There's like a little table to make it a bit more easier for the end user to understand why we partially comply. That whole section has created us quite some headaches, probably Mark and myself and Emma upstairs. We've had a bit of fun trying to explain all that. That is also in the audit opinion that's going to go at the end of the, once we've signed off, the Deloitte will give us. There's actually what they call an emphasis and matter around that particular item. So it's not saying that we're doing anything wrong. An emphasis and matter is just to highlight to the readers of the annual report, this is something you want to consider as you're reading it. And this is going in every council's. This is from the OAG, the Office of the Auditor General. They've said that every council that deals with water supply, so obviously not regionals, will have to put this in their audit opinion. And it basically says that because of the change, so to give a bit of background, what's happened is that during the year, Taumata Arawai has changed from the old drinking water standards New Zealand to the new drinking water quality assurance rules. The problem is the mandatory measure that we're reporting against is set by the Department of Internal Affairs, and they didn't change the measure. So we're trying to report against something that we're not actually measuring anymore because it doesn't exist as in the 14th of November, sorry. So yeah, it created a whole heap of issues. So the Auditor General has just said, let's put it in the opinion to say to the readers, hey, you need to consider this when you're reading it. And that's pretty much all I have to point out, I guess.
Thank you, Brendan. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Christensen.
Like on the whole report, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So on page 10, I was just wondering, it's just a comment really, but like we're being 16 kilometres northwest of Ōtorohanga is the closest town to the world famous global Cates. I was just wondering why we don't even mention our Kiwi house. Because I mean, that's gets bus loads of people too. It's a page 10. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just, I just think it would be good to actually mention our Kiwi house. It's a destination, it's a tourist spot. Yes, no?
Can I just respond to that? We pretty much do a save as of this every year. This is
Yeah.
probably the same one that's been
Yeah.
written for the last 20 years for this. So we can definitely change it, but no, no one, to be honest, spends a lot of time actually. We might adjust the population if it's in there, I don't know. But yeah, good point. We can refresh it and make, probably not for this one, but maybe for next year, because we can have, if we change it, we're gonna have to send it back to get it audited again.
Yeah.
Like the auditors will have to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. So this is it. This is the final. And if we make changes, then we're gonna have to get the auditors to look at it.
Okay. I'm just trying to.
Typo changes are fine,
Yeah,
like little type of, but if we make substantive changes to the wording, I don't know, I just,
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
that might
I
be
get
that.
that.
But good point.
But I have another question, but I guess I can't find it because I don't have my computer. It says we're compliant with noise control, and I don't understand because we didn't have a noise control contractor until halfway through this year in June, and we had lots of complaints that weren't action because we didn't have anyone, and I'm sure the report, yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Um,
Oh, 108, you said, eh? Oh, no. No, you know? Oh, yeah.
So 101 of the actual.
I found it, page 101, the bottom on the table.
Yes.
So 95 noise complaints were received in the 2022-23 financial year. Of these, all were responded to within 2 hours.
Was that responded to say we can't help you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think if the public that are ringing and we're having these problems, I think that's like a bit on the nose for them to, if they were to read it, and let's be honest, they probably won't,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just think that's a bit on the nose, because there's no way we were 100%. We didn't have anyone in place.
So who would have provided us with this?
This would have come from the regular team.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Pick some of them and test back to supporting documentation. I can't remember if this particular one was probably tested.
Okay. Well, this is a little bit more important than Kiwi House
Yeah.
being included in our district overview. So how do we check this?
Got a bit of mic there, Tony.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks. So my understanding of the level of response is it's to respond to the complaint, not to resolve the complaint. So within 2 hours, the way I read that and the way I understand it, is having someone there investigating. And then the outcome of that is different, a different level of service that we're not reporting on. I may be wrong, but that's my
Katrina's point is we didn't have a noise control service for the
To
whole year.
investigate it. Oh, so
Like-
so this reads, we answered the phone. We didn't do anything about it because we couldn't. I get that we answered the phone, after hours answered the phone, like our call center, but we did not have anyone to go there.
It's just interesting that the previous year,
12% makes sense. 100% does not make sense to me either. So, have you got regulatory staff there at the moment, Tony? Can you please just go and check on that? Do you have a copy of do you have a copy of this so you can show them? Oh, okay, yeah. Just check on that, please.
Councillor, while we're waiting for that, any further questions? You got anything further? No. And,
I know, it's not an interest that money that was spent on youth initiatives What is that?
Yes, MTFJ.
Oh, okay, so that goes through us.
That goes through our books here.
Ah, okay.
Oh, sorry, councillor Jeffries.
Well, thanks, your worship. And me, well, firstly, can I just say thank you to Graham and Brendan and all of the ones, all the staff members who are involved in the preparation of the annual report. I appreciate what a big job it is and the frustrations that you experienced along the way with valuers, auditors, changes in accounting standards, blah, blah, blah. So I think you've done a great job, so well done. Thank you. Just looking at 4.9 of your report, Brendan, on page 6 of the agenda. I just wanted to clarify for the rest of the councillors that the report that we're looking at today is the annual report which the Risk and Assurance Committee has been through and made some minor adjustments to that. And it's what we're adopting today, but the report itself on the report to the Risk and Assurance Committee from Deloitte, which is this document here, unfortunately wasn't received by the Risk and Assurance Committee until the day of the meeting. So we haven't had a chance really to go through and actually have a good look at that. And staff have been asked to come back to us at some stage with some commentary around the responses in that. So we're adopting the annual report, but we haven't actually done anything about accepting this at this stage. The other point I just wanted to make too was that there was a suggestion that, well, it wasn't a suggestion actually, it actually happened, was the review of our asset valuations by external consultants. Apparently there was an error, correct me if I'm wrong, Brendan and Graham, there was an error in the way in which they approached that and we had to go back and have it redone. And we're now looking at potentially having to go back to them perhaps on a cost recovery basis to see whether they should be paying something for that because it wasn't something that was done in-house. So perhaps I'll leave you guys to respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, there was some miscommunication between us and the peer reviewer that resulted in us doing some additional work. It was all done in-house, the work, and they were just peer reviewing. So, so there will be a discussion once we've signed everything off with them around what we're going to do with regards to that issue. We haven't had that discussion yet because we're going to get the annual report across the line first, and then look at doing that.
And the only other comment I wanted to make, your worship, was just on the level of the audit fees again this year. We think that there seems to be a bit of an overkill in terms of what auditors are required to do, and I know there's been a pushback nationally too on the level of fees that auditors are charging local government. So it'll be interesting to watch this space and just see what happens there. But in our case, well over, by the time you take into account our LTP and other bits and pieces, we're looking in excess of 300,000, as I understand it, this year. So for a small council, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, thank you, councillor. That's something that we've raised awareness with Deloitte, so expressing our disapproval. And I agree, for a council of our size, the audit fees are non-sustainable. And it's just, it doesn't seem, it's not tenable. That's the big thing. And I agree, it's just way too much. So something has to be done about it. It's amazing as a council, sometimes we'll focus on small petty things, but we don't put enough emphasis on pushing back on something of this magnitude. Tony, have you come back to that?
Just wanted confirmation, but the advice I've got is that our environmental health officer responded to any complaints that came in before we had the Sterling security contract by way of a letter. So there was a response. We're waiting for confirmation on that, not completely know what's feedback.
So the after hours noise contract we didn't have. I know we were doing some response during hours, during like normal, day hours because an animal control officer was doing some of those. And so that's what those stats are. But it's,
Yeah, it's my understanding, it's advice.
yeah.
So a letter to say, sorry, we can't help you. We've got a contract out for tender at the moment. Is that the sort of correspondence you're talking about?
No, so there wasn't an my understanding is there wasn't an after hours contract in place at that point in time, so that's now in place. But during in hours, if there is a response, the advice I was given is there's a letter that was followed up to the party that generated the complaint, saying we've received the complaint, here's what we need you to do, and any follow-up, point of contact.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I think we still have to do a bit more work in the space, purely because it is rather misleading when you look at the annual report saying there's 100% response where we know that there's not in terms of actions. So anybody who's watching on the big screen, there will be actions to follow. Thank you. Any further questions, councillors?
Just one further comment, if I may, Your Worship. I thought the foreword from yourself and the Chief Executive was a very good summary of the events that happened during the year. So just say thank you to both of you guys as well. Yep.
Thank you, councillor. Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, just before we go any further, I'd like, just from a management point of view, I'd also would just like to thank Brendan for the work that he's put into this, and I know it's nice of Councillor Jeffries to thank me as well, but I actually did very little, and you know, the bar just keeps getting lifted higher and higher, and the amount of work that goes into an audit now is just it's just staggering. And it was interesting. Yesterday I was at a meeting at Waikato Regional Council, and they were having a special meeting today as well to adopt their annual report. So it's affecting every council in the country. You know, it's a huge strain on staff resources, particularly for a small council like this, where we haven't got a big finance team, and I know Brendan over the last couple of weeks was probably getting towards the end of his of his patience, you know, with countless back and forward and changes and things, you know. So it's a massive undertaking, and to get it signed off today, which is the statutory deadline, and you know, and I'm sure there'll probably be 30-40% of the country that won't have their annual report signed off by 31st of October. So it's a huge achievement to get this done with the team that we've got. So, yeah.
No, thanks, Graham, and yeah, thanks for acknowledging the work that Brendan and the team have done. And I'd like to further endorse the words of Councillor Jeffries in support of the monumental task that's put before you each year to actually get this out, and to be adopting it on the 31st of October is quite satisfying, I'm sure. And I'm not saying you can have the rest of the day off, Brendan, but no, it is a lot of work, and nobody takes it lightly. So thank you. And Graham, you do get some acknowledgement as the group manager, so thank you. Okay, so before us, councillors, we do have.
Can I just ask a question?
Please, sorry, councillor.
How, just explain to me, if we're going to look into something further in here, how do we adopt it?
We're going to have to adopt it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Sorry.
Just explain.
We're going to have to adopt it as it is. Otherwise, we go back and do some further work on that particular performance measure, and we bring it back to you at a further meeting. So that's your call. That's completely your call. If it means that much to you, we'll go away and do some work. There's obviously been miscommunication around how this particular measure is reported. I'm not happy with what's here, because like you, I was receiving those messages to my inbox about complaints that hadn't been responded to.
I'm all good with adopting it. I just didn't understand. I just need it explained.
So
how that works.
I think the further work comes with how are we actually measuring this. And you know, we have a service in place now, but I still want to understand what we're recording as responded to. how we're defining responded to. And so, yeah, that's I guess the only undertaking I can give you, unless you want us to go back and rework this.
So
one.
could we adopt it but make an amendment to that recommendation that in the future we're looking into how we're reporting? Because if there's a mistake in this one, is there a mistake in
Yeah,
any others? I don't
We're
know.
about to go through, this is the last time, this is the last annual report of the previous LTPs. Oh, sorry, this year's coming, so we're about to go through a whole new set of performance measures with our new 24, 28 LTPs, so.
Yeah, I think councillor. has
No.
to- Go for it.
I just had one question, just maybe make it easier next year. Well, I suppose you have to do it every year, but should have, like, if we read and find something like this, should we have sort of notified you earlier and you could have changed it before the meeting, or once the auditors have seen, we're adopting what the auditors have sort of seen? Or
I mean, that is always helpful. We do have sets of eyes on this, but obviously this one wasn't picked up. I would hope, in answer to your question, that there isn't errors all through this around our measures and what we're reporting back. So, you know, we're not giving ourselves a clean bill of health. There are some that we haven't achieved. So yeah, I hope that that's not the case. But with this one, so you're asking, can a note or something be put?
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know that you want to do some more work on it, but
Yeah.
but I know that, you know, councils change and I don't know.
Can it go
I'm good with whatever
in the
everyone else
resolution?
decides.
Or no? It's tricky because
Look, obviously we all share the same concern. If we take the staff under the direction they head in terms of responding to calls, but not actually responding to the noise complaint, gives them that 100% compliance. I think the understanding here, which we're all pretty clear on, is that it is non-compliant as far as we can see, so there's no actions. If you're happy, councillor, I'm happy to adopt this with the full understanding that something will be looked into to ensure this doesn't happen again, and I have no doubt that we'll be passing the message on to future councillors, or we'll be looking at any drafts and plans going forward. This doesn't happen again. Thank you. So if no further questions, we do have a motion in front of us that the Ōtorohanga District Council A adopt, subject to any minor editorial amendments, which is typos, the 30th June 2023 annual report, and B, authorise the Mayor and Chief Executive to sign the associated representation letter. I'd like to move that, seconded by Councillor Prendergast. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Very good. So with no other business, can I please ask for a closing karakia from Councillor Tamaki?
Maria te whare. Always a great discussion point when we talk about plans and reports and it's always appreciated when we get some good feedback. So tēnā koutou ngā kaunihira me mea. So ngā mihi, kia tata katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ari ki a hukaraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga taitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake, amene.
Thank you, Councillor. On that note, I'd like to declare the meeting closed.